The New York Knicks currently hold the record of 15-11. They're actually exceeding expectations for this season and doing a lot better than many NBA league sources would have given them credit for. But the age-old question, the question that every single NBA insider wants to answer, is how do you make the Knicks a contender in the Eastern Conference, in the NBA? How do you do it? How do you get them from where they are right now, which is here, all the way up there? Well, according to ESPN NBA insiders, they help identify what the New York Knicks need to do in order for them to compete in the Eastern Conference and be considered contenders. Not only that, another NBA insider also lets us know how the NBA sees the New York Knicks right now. And spoiler alert, they see the Knicks as a playoff team. All of this and so much more today. So be sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. ESPN NBA insiders explain how the New York Knicks can become contenders. This really has been the main question for the last few years. The New York Knicks, with their draft picks, with their young players, how can they upgrade their roster? In what ways do they need to upgrade their roster so that way they can be considered a lethal threat in the East, be considered a contender in the East, but not only in the Eastern Conference, in the entire NBA? Well, according to ESPN NBA insider Brian Windhorst, he reports the following on how the New York Knicks can be considered contenders in the NBA. Per Brian Windhorst, he states that the Knicks need to trade for a superstar player to be true contenders in the Eastern Conference. Brian Windhorst continues by stating the following. They finished 5th last year. They are in 5th this year. They're not cracking that top 3 without a major talent influx. That's the Knicks. Shout out to Brian Windhorst for giving us this information. I wish I could say this is major news or a news flash or breaking news, but it isn't. Every single person watching this video, everybody who's a New York Knicks fan, everybody who's been following this franchise for the last few seasons, they know the deal. The Knicks are a good team. Some nights they're a great team. The problem is they are one piece away, one star away from being considered an actual threat in the Eastern Conference and being considered that contender in the NBA. I absolutely agree with Brian Windhorst here. But as mentioned here, the New York Knicks are actually a good team. But as Malika Andrews pointed out right there, she mentioned that on the New York Knicks, how many players do you have that when they catch the ball for an open look or an open 3, you have confidence in them hitting that shot, knocking it down? That's a very good point, because when you look at the Knicks roster, there are only a handful of players that I feel confident in giving them the ball so that way they can make a shot or an open shot. There aren't a lot of players on this roster that I have confidence in terms of them being open and hitting an open shot. Maybe Emmanuel Quickly, Dante DiVincenzo, Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle to an extent, but everybody else on the roster, there's a question mark. I don't know how I feel about them being open and taking a shot, because honestly, I don't know if it's going to go in, because consistency for this team has absolutely been an issue. I'm not saying the Knicks are bad. Clearly, they're not. They're a playoff team. They're 5th in the East right now. They could be knocking on the door to entering the 4th spot in the Eastern Conference. So clearly, the New York Knicks are a very good team in the Eastern Conference. They're a very good team in the NBA. But being a very good team is not enough. A very good team doesn't get to the NBA Finals. A very good team maybe gets to the first round of the playoffs. After that, who knows? I don't want a very good team. I don't want the Knicks to be very good. I want the Knicks to be great, amazing, outstanding. The only way to do that is for the New York Knicks to pick up that phone, for Leon Rose to pick up that phone, to look around the league, to see opportunity around the league. And then when you see it, you seize it and you trade for it. That's how the New York Knicks are going to get better. That's how they're going to upgrade their talent without gutting their roster for that star or superstar. But at the end of the day, we have to agree with Brian Windhorst here. We have to see what he's saying, because in my opinion, he's not wrong anywhere. If this Knicks team is going to upgrade and be considered a threat, being taken seriously as a contender in the NBA, The only way that happens is if the Knicks trade for a star or superstar player. But that depends on who you ask. Because according to Zach Lowe, he actually loves the New York Knicks for this season and loves Jalen Brunson. He thinks he might already be a top 15 player. Here's what Zach Lowe stated exactly about the New York Knicks for this season. Jalen Brunson is already right on the verge of that top 15 All-NBA conversation. Do you want to add another score-first semi-undersized player like, let's say, Donovan Mitchell? How additive is that to your team? I think the Knicks are really good. I'm more bullish on the Knicks than I think you guys are. He's speaking about Malika Andrews and Brian Windhorst. Can they win 2 rounds in the playoffs? They probably need some luck to do that. Some health luck. Some matchup luck. But they are still tough as hell, and when they get Mitchell Robinson back, their defense and their physicality allows them to kind of ride out the ups and downs of their shooting. There's a consistency and a force to them that I think is hard to play against. I think that they can afford to be patient with this team and not rush to go all in. Shout out to Zach Lowe for giving us this information and his opinion on the New York Knicks and their current season. Did you get that dig just now to Donovan Mitchell and what he said? He basically mentioned that if you added Donovan Mitchell, somebody who's semi-undersized, how additive is that to your team? Zach Lowe basically is stating here that if the Knicks trade for Donovan Mitchell and they get him on the roster and give up assets to get him, they might be in the same place they are right now. They might not be any different from right now. So that's a key point to mention and listen to here from Zach Lowe. Because honestly, in my opinion, and a lot of other people agree with me as well too, they would love to see Donovan Mitchell on the New York Knicks. And a lot of people have the New York Knicks getting Donovan Mitchell if he's available for trade. But according to Zach Lowe, even if that's the case, he wouldn't want the New York Knicks to make that move because he doesn't think it moves the needle enough for the New York Knicks and what they're trying to build in the East and within the NBA in general. One of my favorite things that he stated was that Jalen Brunson is already right on the verge of being that top 15 All-NBA type of player. Without question, without a doubt, that is absolute facts. No lies detected. Jalen Brunson looks better this year than he did last year. And last year, I thought he couldn't look better ever. And this year, he's proven me wrong again by taking another step in his game, showcasing why he is that guard for the New York Knicks, why he is our point guard, and why he needs to be an all-star this season, and why if he continues playing this way, like Zach Lowe is stating, he is absolutely going to be in the conversation for all NBA once the season finishes. He is that good. He is that impactful. He is that meaningful for this Knicks team. Zach Lowe is not speaking any lies, but Brian Windhorst isn't either. The Knicks are very good for where they are right now. Zach Lowe stated, if they want to win multiple playoff rounds, the only way to do that with their current roster is to hope and pray and get a little bit of luck in terms of matchup, in terms of health, and in terms of all those factors. But if the Knicks don't want to have to rely on luck and healthy luck and all that type of stuff, then the only thing that they can do, the only way that they can compete with the roster that has to deal with less luck and more skill is to build it. And the way to build it is via trade. You have to trade for that star or superstar player. Absolutely agree with Brian Windhorst here. But Zach Lowe and what he said isn't wrong either. In fact, both of these insiders are correct. Zach Lowe stating that the Knicks are a good team right now, a playoff team right now, that they can compete on any given night with any team right now. That's true. But Brian Windhorst is also true. The Knicks are a good team, but for them to be a better team, a contender in the Eastern Conference or the NBA, the only way that happens is if the Knicks make a trade to get that player. That is the only way they can upgrade their roster at this point in time to be considered a threat or a contender in the NBA. But what about you guys? What do you think about what Zach Lowe and Brian Windhorst had to say about the New York Knicks and how they can be considered contenders in the NBA? Let me know in the comments below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below, and of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.